I tested the LAS16 Sickle, so you don't have to. Helldivers recently released a new warbond pass known as Cutting Edge, with a lot more new items, such as 4 new weapons, a new booster, more skins or cosmetics, armors, and also lots of new capes. And I have decided to test out every single weapon one by one and see how good they are and how they fare against the current meta of weapons. Now, what is the LAS16 Sickle? Well, the LAS Sickle is a heat-based weapon with light armor penetration and decent stats all around. It is ranked at 55 damage, similarly to the starter rifle, the Liberator. It's got a fire limit of 9, a recoil of 2, and a fire rate of 750. This statistically leaves the weapon at a higher DPS compared to the Liberator, and some other weapons due to its higher fire rate with a similar damage compared to the Liberator. On top of that, it's a heat-based weapon, meaning that it can have technically indefinite amount of ammo, as long as you're careful about its heat mechanic, which are affected by the weather and climates on said planets. Well, what is the overheat mechanic, you may ask? Well, the overheat mechanic is essentially the average heat-based weapon in any video game. You fire it for too long and it overheats and stops working. But in Helldivers' case, you actually break the magazine, making it unable to be used, forcing you to swap off to the next magazine. The way you cool off the weapon is through waiting, and waiting you have to do, especially on warmer planets. See, the climates of the planets actually change how fast and how long you can shoot the weapon for. And the colder planets actually let you shoot the weapon for longer, and the weapon also cools off quicker. Compare that to a warmer planet where you will actually be able to shoot the weapon for basically half the time, and you'll have to wait like a decade in order for it to reload again. Now, what other things does the Sickle have that makes it stand out? Well, it's a charge-based weapon, so it takes a second or two to rev up before you can start firing. But once it starts firing, it goes ham. It also boasts 3 different variable scopes that you can change between, which are 25 meters, 50 meters, and 100 meters. Meaning that there's a lot more quality of life and situations that you can actually use this weapon for. You don't really need to use it just for close range combats. You can also use it for longer range combats because of the scope, making it way easier to aim. Speaking of the scope, it's actually a very nice scope. It's very clean, there's not a lot of stuff on top of it. It's very big, giving you a lot of vision, and it's very precise compared to a lot of other scopes in the game. But how does it fare against the enemies in general? I tested this weapon on 3 different planets: Heath, Errata Prime, and Meridia. And so far, my results were just as I thought. What were my thoughts? Well, first of all, the cold planets will make the Sickle way better than what it normally is. And the warmer planet will make the weapon almost completely unusable. But overall, the weapon is actually very good. It's a really good alternative to an assault rifle. It does good damage, it's got really good recoil control. The scope is very good, as I mentioned. It's very precise, and it technically has infinite ammo as long as you manage its heat well. But aside from that, very good weapon. It definitely does compete with some of the higher end weapons, I think, personally. But the only issue is that you shouldn't really bring this to a warm planet, as it will overheat and most likely ruin everything. So if you want to use a precision weapon, just bring the Liberator or Liberator Penetrator, the Diligence, or the Slugger for warmer planets. Since the weapon has light armor penetration, it doesn't really fight well against a lot of heavily armored enemies, such as guards, devastators, and walkers. But they can still, deal with them with a little bit of struggling, because light armor penetration, as I mentioned, you need to be more precise, or you need to follow gimmicks and stuff. And it actually does pretty decent damage against chargers, for example, if you actually hit their abdomen. Surprisingly, this thing does quite a lot of damage to them. Honestly, it's very good against bugs, especially since it can actually deal with a lot of the higher target bugs like stalkers, root commanders, and just chargers in general with general ease. But would I recommend this weapon? Yes, honestly, I would recommend this weapon. This weapon is both very fun, it is very efficient, it is even more efficient on cold planets, it is fun to use, and it also looks really cool. On top of that, it's technically got infinite ammo efficiency, and whenever you're near to overheat the weapon, you can always just swap off. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. Leave a like if you did, consider subscribing if you're new, as we're trying to reach a new goal of 500 this year. And be on the lookout for future content where we're again gonna go over all of the weapons in Helldivers 2's new battle pass. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Peace.